Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Spirit Journey. This is actually my second audio of the day. And right now, it is now about 1:41 p.m. Wednesday, October 23rd, 2019. Yes. Right now, I did an earlier audio file, and that is trying to upload onto YouTube. So it's going to take a while. It's a big file. And I just had my late breakfast / lunch. It was really wonderful. I had these fettuccine Alfredo made by scratch. And what else? And this curry chicken. Oh, wow. It came out really good. Yes, it did. And as I was preparing my meal, I was watching more videos. This one was on. There are two of them that I was watching. One of them, the first one was on the fundamentalist Latter-day Saints, aka the Mormons. The fundamentalists, that's the first Mormons, the so-called authentic Mormon religion, the original one that was formed some 150 plus years ago. The Mormonism that you hear of today mainly are the I guess you call it Reformed Mormons. So they don't practice the polygamy. So they were showing the people, these Mormons, and they wear very clothes from the 1800s. The women wear the very long dresses. They have their hair covered. And they have a work ethic. They're hardworking. And when I lived in the island of Maui, that's in Hawaii, they had some great businesses. That strong work ethic. They dress very neat, and they have a very clean. The Reformed Mormons, very clean, neat appearance. And this one, the fundamentalist Mormons, they had a problem. This particular family that was featured in this video, they didn't like the restrictions that was happening with the lifestyle. There's so many restrictions. And they eventually broke away. And then right after that, there was the next video was on the AMISH people. That is predominantly a German group, or Swiss German, and they're a Christian-based group. Unlike the Mormons, they have their own Bibles, different entirely, but they pretend to be Christians. But either way, the Amish, they're a different group, but they have externally, at least characteristics, the women wear very similar, long dress, hair covered, very clean, neat appearance. The men wear suspenders, they have beards. And part of me is like, it looks sweet. I like that they stress about the work ethic. Work hard, work smart. I mean, I was impressed with that. What impressed me with especially the Amish, that they seem very focused. They're a Christian group, as I mentioned, but they their faith is like about don't challenge the system, don't ask questions, and we do the things what we do because it is. And so, even though they're Christian based, but they're not allowed to like read the Bible in modern day English. And it's their Bible is in old German. And he said that most, many of the people don't speak that, at least maybe read it. So I thought that was interesting. So it had me thinking, like on the surface, it reminds me of the television show Little House on the Prairie. And that the people wear clothes reminiscent of this era in time. It's a romanticism with it. And so my watching it, I'm watching it through the eyes of a black woman who wants the idealism for other blacks to live in a community, something that's stress-free, something that is culturally relevant to us, something that's clean, something that you manage your own lives. You have your own farm and you work as a community. And so when I was watching them, part of it was in, I don't want to say envy, but I start to question, how is it that they're living in clean air? They have masses of land to grow their food and everything. And with that genre that I was talking to you about earlier, about the targeted individuals, how is that these people are able to live in relative some ease? I mean, physically, yes, these people have to work that land, you know. But I ask myself, how is it that the Amish, the fundamentalist Mormon church, how is it that they're able to live in a continuity that lasted over 150 years? They have their own type of language, at least the Amish. They can speak uh, their native tongue. They don't need the comforts of, how do you say, of electricity, video games, even automobiles. How is that they're able to live with this ease? And so I started to think about, well, when blacks in America got their so-called freedom from slavery, how is that they weren't able to have that type of system? How is it that they weren't able to get that land, the separate community, making your own soaps, having your own clothes, that system of continuity for us? Mainstream whites, did not want to be associated with these freed Africans. So why is it, how did it come about that this was denied the freed slave? What was different? Well, you had the controlling families, the former slave owners. They had taken, initially, the land was given to many of these freed slaves, and then, shortly after, the government pulled it away. And then the other aspect of this, that you had what's called the terrorist group, the Ku Klux Klan, and a cult group that is known for harassing and terrorizing the freed blacks. So, but why was this? Why weren't they permitted to just live? To just, like the Amish or the fundamentalists, to have their own community, don't bother anyone, and live their own life. These freed slaves, they definitely knew about plants. They knew every aspect of cultivating the land, harvest time. They were strong, but that really didn't happen. And the blacks in America were then forced to move up north. They created, the ruling whites in the South formed this terrorist organization called the Klans. And then these people were chased off land, lynched, some of them, as a method of coercion and to install fear. And then many of them moved up north. They were forced to live into the growing urban centers like New York City, Chicago, Detroit. And at that time, many Europeans were also coming in at the same time. And that's also where a lot of the hardship started to happen, because now the freed blacks had to compete with the new European immigrants. And eventually, after World War II, I know that's a big jump, after World War II, what they called the projects were formulated. These were what was called affordable housing by the government. And initially it was great for someone who's just starting out. They just got married, they get kids. And again, it was based on your income. And so what income you have, that's the rate of your rent. And then eventually you save up enough money, and then you move out. That's what it was designed to do. But eventually that system changed, and the new blacks that were coming up north from the South or other parts of the Americas started filling in these new cities that were sprawling. So whites were encouraged to, better paying jobs and the ability to get money for mortgage and get a nice place. But with the projects, it turned into like a prison. people were stuck there. There was really no aspirations to, as a stepping stone. That was it. That was their lot. That they were to live there, die there, and then they're not maintained. So even though now it's heavily Afro-American or Afro-Caribbean, it wasn't separate yet equal. The services, the upkeep, like those places, those drinking fountains in the South, one for whites only and the other for coloreds. The one for whites only was always clean and it was large, and one for the coloreds was small and unclean. So like these affordable housing called the projects, it's not kept up. And it's filled with gangs. The apartment units aren't maintained and it's dilapidated. I've seen pictures, documentaries on some of those units, and it's quite frightening to look at how something like that could exist, because you're supposed to have like what we call quality assurance, that when you have a business or whatever, you have to make sure that you do certain processes of maintenance. And someone's supposed to be getting paid to do these repairs. So how come it's not being done with the same thing? And then I later started thinking about, as I was watching the Amish in particular, not so much the fundamentalist Mormons, but I started thinking, wouldn't it be interesting for American blacks to have a community like this? And then I started thinking about this group. I'm not going to mention names of individuals, but I've been seeing on YouTube these groups that's focused on black people. They're pushing, like, how do you say, polygamy. They're pushing this, they're using the Bible, and some of them believe that they are the people of the Bible because of a particular passage in the Old Testament. Now, I can understand something to be like a symbolic of this particular, of black people, but to say that you're actually a descendant of these people, I find that problematic. And they're, I feel, enticing women. They call you like, sisters, brothers, they want to make you feel special. And some of the new religious type groups, they might even call you Earths. In the 1970s, at this group, they called Earths. Or they may say the women are the queens. Hello, queen, and things like that. They say things to try to flatter the woman, to make her feel special. But I feel that there's a deception, that it's to entrap women to go into these new organizations that's really about, at least how it comes across to me, about male domination over the woman. The woman, like in the fundamentalist Mormon group, they weren't allowed to go outside. The women are cooped up in a house, and they have to have kids, a lot of kids. And it's education is not really imposed on the not imposed, but it's not encouraged to become educated. Why is this? Well, one thing, if you don't educate somebody, you control their ability to be socially mobile. The more you know, the more tools you have that could possibly get you out of poverty. It helps expand your thinking ability. But see, this is being denied. And so I feel with the Black community, you slowly have these groups that are being encouraged amongst American Blacks to get away from the white church and to have this own, I guess, the own twist to the Amish in particular, because that is a Christian-based organization, not Mormonism. But either way, it's like a little twist that these new Black groups, the women are forced to wear the long skirts or dresses, their hair covered, and that social mobility doesn't seem to be granted to her. And also polygamy. Polygamy only helps the male. It does not empower women. And so I feel that there is a seduction that's being done upon the American Black woman to get sucked into that, to yes, pull away from mainstream white religion, but form their own group, which on the surface seems okay with me, but somehow it gets like a bondage. The bondage of that you can't get away. In some of these groups, I'm concerned about their, how do you say, like in some places in Africa and the Middle East, the women are encouraged to do the female genital mutilation. And again, these are this tradition. It may have come before Islam, so it's not so much an Islamic practice, but it really takes hold in those areas that currently practice Islam. And again, it's always the pulling down and oppressing the woman and making her feel that there's something wrong with her body. And that's why she has to cover. That's why she has to just stay at home rather than dealing with the issue of lust that the male counterpart has. What are they doing directly for the male to discipline his urges? Why are they getting urges? The type that they do, that to have a whole religion that if you just have your ankle showing accidentally, you can get beaten. All these things. So you question things like that. But now you have these religions with that, like the Amish. Some of them are breaking away from traditional Amish religion and going into mainstream Christianity. And so they had this guy. He was introduced to this mainstream, this Christian, Protestant denomination from a fellow Amish man. And when it was found out by his church, the Amish church, he was to be excommunicated. You're not allowed to visit other places. So they did it was a big sacrifice. It was a big sacrifice for them. So it's like, wow, people are, I thought they were supposed to both be Christian, but a threat if you join another expressionism of Christianity. But again, with all these different groups, the woman's position is really being compromised. And so even though on the surface I like the idea of the simpler way of life, like there's a place upstate New York, this college I used to go to, Newport, which is right around farmland. It looks absolutely beautiful. And I said, wow, wouldn't it have been nice to have something like that? What makes, like the Amish guy who broke away from the Amish church and went to fundamental Christian church, Protestant, they stressed, the narrator stressed about the Amish has such a strong work ethic. Now, American blacks, after slavery, now these people were strong. And they were beaten to have a strong work ethic, to work for their abuser. But when it stopped, when slavery ended, why don't you see that same work ethic? Now you see a lot of blacks, we're not encouraged to shop amongst our own. Very few African American shops here in New York City, where I live. I know of one place, but they're no longer in existence. It was a mother-daughter. It's a restaurant. I think we should get back into that strong work ethic. See, we're getting depressed. They have what they call public assistance. It's all designed to just pull you down that slippery slope, make you dependent, depressed, that we have to rely on outside for help. We have to start changing our mindset. We have to start getting back to basics, but not back to bondage. See, that's the difference, that you have these growing number of black churches that are involved with that polygamy thing, and that we're supposed to be the lost tribe of Israel. Now, this doesn't seem very possible. But either way, let's just say you were. If this God in the Bible is not helping you, why do you stay? Why are you staying in a faith and serving a God that shows hostility to you and has not shown you favor? You have to start asking yourself, why should I continue in that type of lifestyle where I have to wonder where I'm going to get my next sustenance? How come if I'm the head, why am I the tail? And you have other groups who have obtained, who are just robbing you. You do all the work, but they get all the blessings. How do we, as blacks in America, how do we overcome the system? How to avoid the traps of these new black groups that want you to be old-fashioned and believe that you're the lost tribe, but yet when you practice it, somehow it doesn't work for you. But this Amish group, the work ethic, I mean, they're strong. And he's this guy, he's just prospering. They have with the Amish, like when the teens, when they turn like 18 years old, they're given a test, so to speak. They said, we'll allow you for a time being for it to get, you get it out of your system about the world. So they allow them indulgences. And then they're presented and says, do you want to be a member or do you want to stay in the world? And because you have peer pressure, most of them say, I need my group. I want to stay an Amish member of the community. But that work ethic, and even when they broke away from the church, that one group, somehow working hard and serving the Bible helps them. And they seem to just they didn't have that oppression. They see, the air looks so clean and they just sprouted. Why is it that blacks in America, the average black church in America, why is it that our hard work does not pull us out of poverty, and it's a lot of oppression, a lot of social decay that's happening? There's a lot of ill health. You have people with heart disease, diabetes, a lot of obesity. But when you look on the Amish, they're very slim. Very. You have to really start wondering, how come the Bible, and I think this is the main thing about this audio file that I'm doing, how come Christianity doesn't serve the black family the same way as this Amish who left their community and started another church? Someone had even, like he did a deal with this guy. He says, hey, you let me live in this farmhouse and I do the work for you, the farming, in exchange of being able to live here. And the guy did so well that the owner said yes. And this family did so well that, and it surprised even the owner, they flourished. See, it's like opportunity. See, sometimes opportunity are permitted. And again, most likely the person that allowed him to live in that farm was probably someone of the same race as he, similar background, but not a strong Amish, but maybe a similar type of religion, but allowed, some modernization, You have to ask yourself this question. Serving the Bible, for a black American, to serve the Bible does not serve you, but it serves your former oppressors/masters. The Amish were never slaves. They might be slaves to a system, but they're never involved with chattel slavery. You really have to start wondering, You have to really protect yourself from these new groups, in my opinion, these new black groups that are putting ideas in the head that you come from kings and queens. Now you have modern day Africa. And even these modern day Africans where I live, they're leaving Africa. They're leaving West Africa. And they come into the U.S. And I don't see them promoting. Sorry, that's my little boy there. I don't see them promoting about teaching black Americans about how good it is to be here. You don't see anything. They're just living their lives. And I don't hear them saying that they come from kings and queens. And if they did, why aren't their king and queen helping them and keeping them in Africa? They're leaving. Many of them are leaving now, West Africa. And I'm sure other parts of the world too. So I believe that modern Black American society are teaching lies or deception about what Black life and Black history is all about. They're seducing us with colorful imaginations about, usually talk about ancient Egypt / Kemet. What did they ever do for you? You have modern day Egyptians. And it's a poor country. They're not thriving there. And I think the only thing that country really has going for itself is for people to come visit an artifact called the pyramid and the Sphinx. Outside of that country really has nothing going for itself. And that's the place that had the kings and the queens. But it's really not helping them. It's not really helping them in the mainstream world economy. The European is still outdoing them. The U.S. government, the military, they go there. That's where I was stationed, not stationed, but where we had to go to. Yeah. They don't have that same power. They don't have it. So how is Africa, what does Africa do for us? It's not even helping those who live there. But I do love the idea, the dream that it could be our new home, going back to our homeland. But I think we have to be careful because they're trying to seduce us into this old system of Africa, and that it's going to be the answer to all our problems. It's not. It's just another deception. Just like the deception of being Amish and living this lifestyle, or the fundamental Mormons, and the women aren't permitted to do certain things. They're not allowed to educate themselves. They can't go outside. All these things. And they stuck. And a lot of them can't get out of poverty. You have the Black American Church. We're packed in there on weekends. Some of us go there several times a week. And it's more and more and more churches. But it doesn't serve us. We are a religious group. But we are not getting out of poverty. Religion's not even bringing in community to us. There's no community. It's just struggle. I remember growing up, there was a neighbor, they'll be there for hours, virtually like camp out there in church. And these are poor people. She's from a poor family, that person. And it didn't increase, it didn't stimulate their mind, it didn't stimulate work ethic as it serves the Amish. You know, the Mormon also, they have a strong work ethic as well. In Maui, there are a lot of Mormons there. They have the businesses. Very, very nice businesses they have. And I met a Mormon from Fiji, a native Fijian. He was doing pretty good. He was a counselor, and he had a second job. He has two full-time jobs. His day job and then the other job in the evening. Yeah, that guy worked. Sometimes when you go into some of these mainstream white organizations, sometimes they allow you some benefits. But see, the blacks that are in it, and you know the film I was watching with the Amish and the breakaway church for for the Amish people, it had a little black girl in it too. I was not that young. She maybe was a teenager, but yeah, they showed that, so I thought that was interesting. How's it going to serve her? That would be interesting to interview someone like that. How is that church up there serving her and her community? It'd be really interesting. Really, really interesting. So I think the essence of this audio file that I'm doing is that you have religious organizations such as the Mormons and the Amish, and how it affected the women in particular, forced them to maintain a way of dress, limited education, and something that didn't encourage her to be financially independent. And now that you have black organizations that are trying to promote this old Bible lifestyle of the Old Testament lifestyle upon modern day blacks, but somehow you stay in poverty, and somehow you get caught up in the polygamy, and the only one that really benefits is the guy. How is that going to benefit a woman? They say, oh, well, the guy will protect her. How could he protect her? He got all those other women. It's going to be fighting between these ladies. And the guy being more socially mobile, because he can just say, hey, I'm going over to wife number 2, and he can go off maybe to the bar, get something to drink. There's no real protection for her. And some of the organizations, like the Mormons, who are encouraged to have a lot of kids at least, many of them go on welfare. They have multiple wives, but they hide the fact they have a lot of wives. They hide that. But the women can go, say, look, I got kids, I need help. And so they get the financial, the welfare award, And they bring in the money that way into that community. That's what's being done. And not just the Mormons. You have the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community, and they're doing the same thing. But it helps them. See, I learned that the Orthodox Jewish community, that when they go on welfare, they don't have to do the back to work program. You get a black person or Hispanic, they have to be enrolled in some program called back to work program. But these people in the Hasidic community, it doesn't apply to them. They have a different system of the caseworkers. It's all separate. So it benefits them. See that? See that? It's not designed to work the same. It's helping the Orthodox Jewish community, but not helping the black family. The husband and wife are not to live together, but those Orthodox Jewish families, the whole family's intact. See that? See how religion and the system does not operate the same. This is what I'm seeing. So I'm encouraging black people to really observe how the system and how religion serves you, and how you can break free of those systems for real community and self-determination. You have to really start examining. Look where you live right now. Those of you who got this far on this audio stream, start observing when you go to church. If you live in a place like New York City, start observing how many churches are on that block, how long you stay there. And then you compare with a typical white neighborhood, how many churches do they have there? And how much resources do they have? How is it that the schools? Now, if this God loves you, how come this God is not helping you become scholars, excellent with the sciences and math? But instead, they'll make sure they have what do you call sports. See, sports bring white people money. You have the sponsorship, and then they entice the boys in particular. They may try to entice them with a car. Hey, join our, come in our school, our college, tuition free. Here, you want this car? And they know, hey, you come from poverty and all bling bling is what your community seems to be focused on. See, those colleges are about themselves and what's going to bring money into that institution, and not about community building within the black community. And then when they want to graduate from that college, or maybe want to go pro, what happens? Oh, you accepted a gift from so-and-so when you were in high school. You're considered a professional already. You can't come in. You are banned from with the Olympics or something, because if you took something, a gift, you consider pro. Yeah, that's what. Maybe that's what it was for the Olympics. You can't go on that. So again, it's to screw you over. It's to screw you over. So you got to look when someone wants to offer you something free. Why do they want to give me something free? Why do they want to give me this gift? Well, they want you to get into their institution, and while you're there for the 4 years, hopefully you graduate and you at least use the opportunity to develop your mind in some economic plan for community building. But instead, you just think of the moment. See, they rely on you to just be instinctual, just to go be of the moment and not think ahead. They thinking they want you to just receive gratification, the here and now. White people in the system and the Jewish community, they think ahead. They say to themselves, what can I do so that 50, 100 years from now, we will obtain this particular domain? These people about domain. Domain is what is think of it as a territory, what the territory is going to be. Black people in America and throughout the Americas, regardless of language, okay, we speak many different languages in the Americas, and don't think because your hair texture is a little different now, or your complexion is a little different now than when it started out from when you first arrived in the Americas, okay? It's changing. But the same thing's happening. You know, I'm also reminded of something else about this American dream. I was thinking about this other video, and this person was talking about, yeah, I remember what it was. It was this parental show, paternity. And the guy was saying that, he's hoping the baby's mine. He didn't have a father growing up. And he had a dream to have his own little family. He was a young man. And how he wanted to have a home and play ball with this kid. And I just listened. I didn't expect to hear that. Oh, I want to play ball, baseball with my kid and blah, blah, blah. And it just sounded like a Hollywood make-believe desire. I mean, it sounds cute, but I don't know anyone in this country who really believes that. Well, I want to have a kid so I could play ball. I don't really see people playing ball or anything with their kids. It just sounds so Hollywoodish. I mean, there's nothing wrong. On the surface, it sounds so cute. Or how about this? The white picket fence. I wanted to get married and have a house and a white picket fence. And I heard that before. Again, a very Hollywood, picturesque fantasy. And I started thinking, what is this? What does this mean? What does it mean to this white picket fence? And you know what it dawned on me? That it's a program. Playing ball, that stuff. It's a program, a social program of how or what your interest is to be, to keep that wheel turning. That when you grow up, you're supposed to do this. Okay, you have a kid, because then you have to play a ball with the kid, or okay, you have to, get married, and then you have to have a white picket fence. See, this is part of the program. It's not our natural desires of this. It really isn't. These are all programs, and when you don't get the program, you start to feel cheated. Like there were these girls, they didn't have a father growing up. And so what do these girls do? They became promiscuous and having relations with these guys. They get pregnant, and many of them may not know who the father of their kids. So here, the brainwashing, the trauma of not having a father in the home made them, it distorted their rationality. You don't run out and pick any dude to get you pregnant and then they leave. Now you perpetuated the same, hear that? You just perpetuated the curse of living in a household where there's no father, and you impose that on your kid because of your distorted thinking. Rationality would be, okay, I didn't have a father, but here my mom got me through school, she encouraged me, this and that, and I'm going to think better and help myself financially. And so I'm going to educate myself, get good grades, get a good job, but that's not happening. Instead, the physical desire of just getting any male in your life, any male, and then create the same cycle. And that's what it's designed to do. They know how women think. The same thing, and then what it does to the male who doesn't have a father. They get involved with drugs, gangs, and shooting each other. See that? And so that kid also gets a young girl pregnant. He can't afford it. He's in jail. See that? So the program make you feel like you're lacking. That's the key thing. The system's designed to make you think you're in lack. You're in lack. Start seeing through the deception. You're not in lack. When you have yourself, you never lack. Never. Stop believing the lies about yourself. Many people in this world don't have both parents, but use rationality, use wisdom, that these churches are failing to teach you wisdom. You don't have a father, okay. Make sure you don't get a girl pregnant. Make sure you don't get pregnant. Wait till you're mature and be selective on who to court, who to marry. Be prepared. See that? But see, the God of the black man in America, the black woman in America, is not helping them because it's not designed to help you. So this is a wake-up call. Oh, I remember I was going to say, not only is that a wake-up call about that white picket fence. You know what, that is a program, as I was saying. But the white picket fence, you know what that's the symbol of that Hollywood promotes? You know what that means? That is about white supremacy. White supremacy, that you are infringing on a boundary. So it's conditioning. White is a code. White is not a race or color. White is a code. And that code is to say that you are entitled, that you are the dominant one, you are the ruling class, and that you have the right to increase your boundaries. And so there's programming whites. Get that white picket fence and have a big one and encroach on that. You know what happens when you put a fence up? You build enemies. So again, it's building up tension between communities that, hey, this is mine, and it's creating conflict and tension between my neighbor. You go in a traditional Native American society or traditional African society, do you see a white picket fence or any boundary like that? No, you don't. No, you don't. But in the European mindset, they believe in boundaries because, see, they are being programmed to take over the planet, to take over the earth. What was that thing with the Go West young man? Manifest Destiny. There's a book called Race and Manifest Destiny. That was the ethic of the white European American, and that the desire to, you start off on this East Coast and to conquer what's now called California. And they went even further. Now they're in Hawaii. And they're teaching you the desire for the white picket fence, a symbol of white dominion, white supremacy over the land. That's what that's for. And it's not benefiting you. The system goes further. You look in those neighborhoods, what they call the bedroom communities. That's like you go maybe 1 hour up north from New York City. You get what they call the bedroom communities. Yes, you do. And what happens? Well, one thing they don't have sidewalks. How do you mean they don't have a sidewalk? I'm serious. Take a trip up there in what they call the bedroom communities of the suburbs. They do not have sidewalks. Why? Because the developer, after World War II, where a lot of these bedroom communities were formulated, it was designed to force new migration in these areas outside of New York City, and it's also in other parts of America, but it was designed that they were going to introduce more, how do you say, those industry, like those large department stores, like a type of Walmart, big massive supermarkets. And so you're forced to get a car because they don't want you to walk. Hey, we're going to build these vehicles that guzzle a lot of gas. And so it's going to generate income for the gasoline people. You know, people sell gasoline. And remember the Middle East? They were a nobody 100+ years ago, but now they're a major force. See that? The Abrahamic nations, the Abrahamic people of the Bible, they are building a system for themselves to make the non-Abrahamic people dependent on their system. So now, after World War II, people live far from where they get their food. Oh, well, let's sell a car to them. They just got, the economy is growing now. Since the war, people are starting families, what they call the baby boomers, which I'm a member of. Yep, you got all that. And so you get the car. You have to drive many miles to this shopping center. Schools also are far away, so now you have to bus them. You're on the road more hours, it seems. You're on the road for maybe 4 hours of the day, so you get home late and tired. You overeat because you're stressed, so you start to gain a lot of weight. And since now everything is far away, so you're not getting exercise. You're gaining more weight since now you're getting no exercise. And that in turn creates a sick society. You're developing diabetes, heart disease. And it's all about generating that system of control. That little gerbil wheel is continuing to spin, spin, spin. So now you're guzzling the gasoline. You're guzzling down the food. The food is tainted. The school is getting tainted. It's a system that's destroying both blacks and whites and everything in between. But the first group that it's getting the blacks. Start waking up. Start at least getting close to your own family and saying, hey, enough is enough. We need to start to build our community. It starts with your personal family. Start trying to, start living with less. I mean, don't try to get the Mercedes. Get something modest. Start making your own food. Start maybe learning how to make your own soap. I learned how to make soap in 2014. It's a fun little hobby, and it's teaching you that you can do something with your hands. They want you behind the smartphone. It's dumbing you down. They call it a smartphone, but it's actually a dumb, a dumb phone. It's not helping you. It's hurting you. They're making you so dependent on these devices. It's not educating you. It's pulling people away from their own families. Go, be in a large city and see what people are doing. Let's say when you're on the train or the bus. They're not talking to each other. They're looking at their devices. That's what they're doing all day when you go on the train or the bus. When I go on it, that's all I see. See that? It's entrapping you. It's programming you. It's programming me. I never used to be on those devices. I started getting on the devices in 2012. So that's about, 7 years now? Let's see. From 7/12 to 7/13, and then there was a break. And then from 7/15 to now, 2019. So that's 4 years. So about 5 years now. 5 years now I've been using these devices, and I find it harder and harder to resist. I'm getting seduced like these people. I get on, and I'm just looking at it. And then I look up, and they're doing the same thing. We're not talking to each other anymore. We need to start communicating with one person to another. We need to start doing that because they're going to totally take over. I even saw this movie. The movie was a semi-futuristic world where the drug of choice now is the internet. They had virtual reality glass, those goggles, those hand devices, and an IV unit attached to them so they can just live in another world, the internet world of their own fantasy choice, just like the movie The Matrix, so to speak. But this was their choice. They were like in a drug den rather than just a intravenous, the drug. It was the virtual reality game as they're getting brainwashed. Yep. It's a warning. It's a warning, folks. You don't want to be like in that movie with the IV in your arm to feed you so you don't leave. You have the goggles, the 3D goggles, the hand devices, so you can interact in another world. and you don't realize that you're enslaved to it. You're addicted to it. It's killing you. They're killing us softly. Just like the frog that's in a pan of water and they turn on the heat really slow, and then it's too late for them to get out and they die. We have to wake up. We have to wake up. So that's what I want to share with you guys today about the system, about what's happening to all people in this country, on this planet, the desire of people to control what goes on in our community, amongst the black community, and that ultimately that white picket fence is going to consume us all and destroy us all, both black and white and everything in between. So that's what I wish to share with you right now. I hope you were able to follow along and understand my thoughts, and that feel free to comment below. You can share this video with friends and family members, and you can subscribe to my channel, Spirit Journey. And those of you who like this content, love my channel, and wish to support it, you may like to PayPal me. Just go to my channel, Spirit Journey, and on the top right portion of the banner of my channel, you see the PayPal me link. Just click on it and follow the prompts. And what your heart desires for you to give me, may you do so in thanksgiving. I thank you in advance for your precious, precious gift. Peace, love, and joy to you and to the listener of this audio file. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.